What's the intro like? Do you have like a...
Today, I have with me the Miss Rochelle Robinson of Thorough Home Inspections. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. So glad to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us about yourself. Are you from the city? Like, what's your background?
Well, I've been in Pittsburgh mostly all my life. I grew up in McKeesport, went to Duquesne University, kind of never left, although I was born in Michigan. But eventually, I would like to branch out, and maybe we could talk about that later when we franchise Thorough all over the U.S. But until then, yes, I am from Pittsburgh, so we can. I did at least want to launch Thorough here in Pittsburgh 13 years ago when we started out as DLR Enterprise, and we did investments and mortgage companies and all of that good stuff. So now I've landed on home inspections, and I love it.
Okay, so you've been in the real estate game for 13 years?
A little bit more than that. I've been organized for 13 years, but for the most part, started off as investors, and I still invest now.
Wow. Okay, so what did you do before that? Like, rewind to 13, 14, 15 years ago. What were you
I
doing before?
know. Who is Rochelle? So mostly I'm in IT. So most of my degrees are in business and technology. And I've had several other businesses here in Pittsburgh, but I like mostly the behind the scenes, the technical aspects, right? I like people, helping people, families. So that's where I started out.
Okay, so I mean that seems like the perfect place to be in as a home inspector.
I know,
'Cause
right?
it's more than just about a business and just making income. It's no, I'm here for your best interest.
Right. So I call it a ministry, like a business and also a ministry.
I like that.
Right? I might coin it, put it out there in the atmosphere. Don't nobody take it. But yes, it's where I just have so much joy showing up and helping people, and I'm making a big impact on families.
So, at what point in your life did you realize that you were going to be a business owner?
Yeah, wow, that's a deep question. So you're kind of digging into my background. So you know what? I guess I will share. I mean, I did grow up an orphan. I lost my parents young. My dad left at 4. My mom died at 8, and then I lost my brother. So my whole immediate family, I lost at a really young age. So I actually have this fire in me, this ambition to build, to make something out of myself. When my brother died, I learned that we had a degenerative disease in our family where we had 50% chance of living. I had a 50% chance. So as a young person, I'm like, well, I wasn't supposed to be here. So what impact can I make in the world? Another thing is that without a family structure, I didn't have a safety net. So where was I going to live? Where was I going to eat? Where was I going to sleep? So I've always, excelled in school, top of my class, worked 3 jobs. And so I gravitated towards business and corporate America, where, now I have a really great job at, in corporate as well as building my business. So generational wealth is important to me because I didn't have anything, and I didn't have anything passed down to me. So with 3 girls, I want to change that generational narrative to where they don't have to struggle as much as I did.
Okay.
So that's why, I'm a bit ambitious in business and corporate America.
Right. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking that you'd want one of your girls to take over the business and to keep it running. Or are you kind of
Wouldn't
like,
that be awesome?
I'll just let you do, whatever your heart's desires are.
Yeah, I thought about that. I would like, or I would desire it to run on its own for, like I said earlier, my desire is to franchise. And as I franchise, it should be a turnkey type of situation, right? To where my girls can still benefit from the legacy, right? by just managing or just making or just hiring a very smart person to manage it, but it still would go into the family trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's based in Pittsburgh, right?
It will start out in Pittsburgh, and then eventually I would like to, maybe move into Texas, North
Okay.
Carolina. Those are the areas I would like to explore further. But I don't know. It's endless. And then, like I said, in real estate, I really kind of, like to continue to invest. I've had 14 units thus far. I just flipped a house in Garden City in Monroeville. So that was fun.
Garden City Drive?
Garden City, that
Or-
area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Oh, I seen Garden. No, it wasn't Garden City Drive, but
okay.
it
'Cause
was
my,
near
my
there.
mom grew up on Garden City Drive, and she's always talking about Garden City Drive
It's a great area.
like it's Hollywood or something. I'm like, Mom, okay, we know you grew up on Garden City Drive. Like,
It's Pittsburgh, Hollywood.
yeah, right.
Right.
Well, back then it was.
Oh,
Because
wow.
my mom grew up. She graduated from Gateway in 1977.
Oh, okay.
So during that time, it was like, when blacks were moving to like
Yeah,
areas
I
like
can see that.
Monroeville, it was like, oh, they moving on up.
Right, right.
Now according to my granddad, he's like, no, we're just regular. You know what I mean? We
Right.
ain't moving up.
Right. Oh, that's what's
Yeah.
up.
So how did you come up with the name Thorough Home?
So, thorough home inspection, I do have to give credit to my ex
Okay.
because we did start together, and then yeah, we've migrated not together. So, but
Right.
that's okay.
It happens.
It
It's
happens. No love lost. High school sweetheart.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But I will give credit to real credit's due, and he named the company.
Okay. That's respect. I respect that.
Thank you. But thorough is like, we're thorough. We're very detailed, and we get down to the nitty gritty. Like, that's why we're the best, kind of
Right.
thing.
No, absolutely. Thorough home inspections. What services do you provide?
Yeah. So we do the complete home inspection, which we inspect all of the major systems of the home, which is the roof, the electrical systems, the plumbing systems, right? The foundation, the interior, the exterior. I actually get in those crawl spaces, all the little dirty bugs and, webs. I'm in there. Yeah, I get in there. And so we do all of that. In addition, pest inspections, radon tests, and the sewer scope.
Okay, so if someone who is, obviously unfamiliar with, those terms, and they say, what is radon? What is
Yeah, that's a
radon
good
test?
question. So radon is typically the chemicals and the gases that you can't see. So if the home has a certain level, whether too high, then that is when, we need to mitigate, right? We need to make sure that proper gases and proper ventilation is coming in through your home. As it relates to more pests, when we say pest, well, rodents and vermin and they mess up your home too, right? So not only gases you can't see, little rodents that eat at the wood of your home and tear down your foundation, we have to make sure that they're not entering your home. And then when it comes to the sewer, sometimes your sewer line gets packed or jammed, or and so we do a sewer scope to make sure that it's not impacted.
Okay. So for a buyer, what does a home inspection report look like?
Yeah, that's a good question too. You ask good questions. You're a natural at this. This is not your first time. So the inspection is based on the need, right? So for a buyer, sometimes there's VHA or FHA loans, or sometimes there are buyers who are investors. And sometimes the investors don't care if the paint chips. Investors are like, look, just give me like the nitty gritty. Don't nobody want a 60-page report. It's like, okay. So if you're an investor, they typically want a 4-point inspection where it's just the major systems. But for a home buyer, first-time home buyer, or someone that's moving their family into the home, they want more details. They're like, okay, what is everything that I need that is going wrong with this home? So sometimes that report gets a little bit lengthy. I just finished the report last night. It was 60 something pages.
Is that the longest that you've ever had? Like
I
the
believe
most?
so, because I really, really kind of wanted to get it in a little bit more detail. For example, people don't think that, like at the home, there was the power lines going through the trees. Like there's a tree next to the home power line, and all the power lines that were connecting to the house went through the tree.
Wow.
Now, someone who isn't an inspector would be like, "Oh, it's okay," but like that's a shock hazard, that's a fire hazard, right? What if the water gets on the tree? The wood itself isn't a hazard, but say it's raining and then you walk by and kids, dogs, people get shocked off of that tree. It wasn't, I was like, "Oh, that's not okay." So being able to point out those things for families is actually what brings me joy. Ministry,
Yeah,
my
right.
ministry. There's another family where the house was on a hill and it was sliding. It
The
was
foundation.
literally sliding.
Wow.
So I went in the basement and I can literally see through the foundation outside. I was like, so the agent was there, and then the clients was there, and I'm looking like, you're gonna buy this house? Okay, so I try to pull the agent aside because I'm not trying to, mess up no deal. That's up to you guys. You guys explain it to them
Right.
how, in the way that you need to. But I did ask the question. So then the seller and the seller disclosure said, "Oh, we had that fixed by a structural engineer." So I said, "Okay, Agent A, like when?"
Right.
And then he looks at the report. Here's the report. It was fixed. It was fixed. I said, "When?" He looked at the date of the report. It was 20 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, that's
That's my ministry, right?
Yes.
Hashtag we care. That's our hashtag. Hashtag we care.
and we have to be honest with the people that we're representing.
Yes, you do.
So when you were talking about inspections, I was thinking that a few years ago, when the market was like just going crazy,
Yeah, I
like
know.
everybody and their mom was buying houses. I don't know if it was like a panic buy or what, but I mean, come to think of it, interest rates were low as well.
Yeah.
So there were multiple offers on homes. Like there would be like 17 offers, and you had a lot of people waiving inspections. So I mean, I don't know
You're
if you
right, though.
experienced that during that time.
No, you're completely right. And also buying houses as is. That's another thing. It's like we're waiving the inspection, we'll buy as is.
From your expertise and your perspective, I mean, I feel like you're obviously going to say no, don't waive inspections. But if people are like, oh no, we're going to waive inspections, what advice would you give to someone
Yeah.
who is kind of thinking about doing that?
No, there's a big risk into doing that. Here's an example. And I'll even use myself as an example. When I bought my house, my real estate agent, the best agent, along with yourself,
Thank you. Thank
along
you.
with yourself.
I needed that affirmation.
Yeah, I'm just saying, present company excluded. So I did pay for the inspection at the time. This was many, many, many years ago before I got into this. And she says, and there was roof issues that came out of the inspection. Now the inspection cost what, $450.
And that's it.
And so we got a brand new roof based on that inspection. Yes. So that was like a $3,000 to $5,000 new roof. I'm still in the house now. It's been, eons later, but
Right.
thank you. And I have also have afforded other people that type of leverage to be able to say, oh, here's something wrong. Another case wasn't necessarily my inspection, but inspector looked in the crawl space and saw that the attic was all black and charred.
And
Meaning-
what's that from?
A fire maybe,
Okay.
but
I
hadn't
should have known that.
hadn't an inspector kind of gone up there to check it out, and then you're paying what, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a home that you're going to move yourself and your family in.
Hmm.
You know, that $400 goes a long way.
I have 2 points to make on that. But this is just, I need to look at my camera for this, but this is a disclaimer. For those of you who are thinking of waiving your inspections, don't blame your realtors when things go wrong.
When things go wrong.
We're not at fault for that. I encourage you, highly encourage you
Yeah, definitely.
to get your inspections done. Back to the place that was charred and whatnot. Why wouldn't someone want to purchase or at regular price or asking price for something that was previously burned? Like, what are the future damages, or if there will be any future damages off of that?
I think you're just going to have to weigh your risk level and your investment. The fact that it could collapse, right?
Okay.
You know, it needs to be replaced. I think in this instance, again, it was negotiated that the seller would replace the roof before the buyer backed out of the sale, but that's the negotiation. So having an inspector come in and look, it's like a mechanic opening the hood, seeing what's wrong, and then advising, hey, you know, you have 1,000 more miles on this engine before you're going to have to spend $5,000 on a new engine.
Right.
Same with the roof, same with your water tank, same with your heating systems. You are going to need to know how long this is going to take. So if you get in the house and then 6 months later, if you waive an inspection, your roof starts leaking, furnace, you know, kind of goes out, it's going to be better to negotiate that up front.
Mm-hmm. Not our fault. Not the realtor's fault.
Yeah. I had another inspection where I tested all the appliances. It started smoking, like literally, like smelled like something was catching on fire. I said, okay, we're going to have to turn this
Wow.
off. I said, yeah, you might want to check this one out.
So all in all, the average inspections are $400 to $500, right, at the most.
I would say, yep, 350 to 450.
And
It's depending on the age of the home and the square footage.
Okay.
Because when the older homes, some of their building practices are outdated. You'll get new installation or work on top of old work. And then, you know, you got to inspect that. If it's over 50 years old, I just inspected a house over 50 years old. All of the electrical was not grounded, meaning it's not protected by like more recent electronics. You can't use it. It doesn't have those 3-prong. It has mostly 2-prong. So if you buy a house that's not grounded, it doesn't have the grounded wiring, then it's going to be very expensive for any repairs. So if it stops working and then you have to spend all this money to get it rewired, you can't do that with just in pieces. You can, but it's going to be very costly.
Right.
So those types of things you're gonna want to know. So like a lot of those older homes, that's what you'll see. And also their drainage system was draining into a retaining wall. The retaining wall fell. So it's those types of things that you're gonna want to know.
Right. I did want to touch on the lead base paint.
Yeah. So we have testers. Now, from a home inspection perspective, fun fact to know, we only test visible
Okay.
defects. Every home inspector, no matter where they're licensed, only test visual defects. So lead is not a visual thing.
Right.
Some may go above and beyond the standards of practice to say, okay, I've done this little extra test for you, and here's what we found. Me and Team Thorough, we go above and beyond in our thermal imaging, and we go above and beyond. We use drone technology to get on, to get a lot of the roof stuff. We use moisture meters to kind of see the dampness, coming in the walls. So we do go above and beyond and offer different services that people, other inspectors will charge more for, but we include that, in our normal services.
Right. So on the seller side, I wanted to kind of touch on the sellers because we've been on the buyers for a little bit. But so as far as the sellers, a seller reaches out to you and they want to get a pre-home inspection, or we'll say we have two people. One person wants the pre-inspection done, and we have another seller that is kind of like in between and doesn't know. Do you recommend a seller getting a pre-inspection, and if so, why?
Yes. So I've had a couple seller pre-inspections. I recommend when they're putting their house on the market so that they know in advance what issues they would need to possibly fix or that could be found by the buyer, right? It's kind of a foreshadowing of what could occur, right? And sometimes you don't know about your home until you know, right?
Right.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been in my home for a while, and even though, I mean, I guess I could inspect my own home, but I kind of know what's wrong with it.
Right,
I
right.
know the issues. I just got to get, certified professionals to kind of come in and fix them. But sometimes seeing it all in one and saying, okay, I got like a checklist, like, okay, I got to fix this, and this before I put it on the market is a value. So I did an inspection for my Miss Joni. Her name is Joni. She was just the sweetest. She was moving in from Pittsburgh. So sweet. But like her situation, the seller was the seller's agent and Joni's agent.
Mm.
So the person selling the home, the seller's agent, and the buyer's agent was all the same person.
Wow.
That put me as a home inspector in such a precarious predicament
Yeah.
because now, like, they're like coming so hard at me, like, and kind of being very critical on everything because the seller's defensive. One, it's their property.
Right.
Two, it's like, so I don't like those types of situations. I typically, for my clients, I'm like, okay, do you have a buyer's agent? Do you have someone representing you in your best interest?
Yeah, you need it.
With zero bias, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because, that was horrible.
Okay, I got what you're saying. So you're saying that the seller's agent was representing the seller and the buyer.
And the buyer, and was selling the home.
And was selling the home.
Oh my Lord. I never want to be in that position again. I might even turn that work down if I ever get in that again.
Yeah.
Because I felt so bad for Joni.
All money's not good money.
Oh, Lord.
Sometimes you have to, especially like me personally, well, what you were describing is called dual agency. And me personally, I don't know if I would want to be getting into dual agency to where you're representing a seller and a buyer.
Oh, it was horrible. So when I did the inspection, the buyers people were there, the sellers people were there, like the grandma, the uncle. There was 6 people following me around like an entourage.
Wow.
I felt like Beyonce. It was so awkward though.
I have a couple of more questions. You do a pre-inspection for a seller, and a buyer gets their own inspection through another company. Let's say like the reports don't match, and
That's a good question.
obviously, I mean, not everything is going to be lined up. You might point out certain things that another inspector might not, and vice versa. Which report do you go by?
Yeah, both.
And
So the answer is definitely both.
okay.
Because all inspectors have a disclaimer like, look, we get as much as we can, but we are not gods in that
Right.
we will catch everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
The variances in inspectors would be experience, it would be, the time, like I'm very, very experienced. I take in inspections 2 to 4 hours. I take my time, even though they're trying to rush me out, but no, and I like that I do because I'll catch things the longer or the more precise that I am, even down to like the lint and the lint trap. Like I go in.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's about comparing one inspector to the next. And I'm sure one inspector will find something that the other didn't. Again, it's a visual inspection. What you see may not be what I see, and vice versa. And we have disclaimers stating so. But even in my, I'm InterNACHI certified. So we even have a guarantee program to where, like we do the inspection and something happens, we'll buy back the house. Or, you know what I mean? Or, and I'm fully bonded and insured. So if something happens, then we'll make it right, if you
Right.
will.
In conclusion, the overall process of the home inspection, how does that fully benefit the buyer and the seller?
So, good question. Definitely the buyer. There's so much to know per buyer. GFCIs, what is that? So it's an education. It's a grooming. And each house is different. Each house has their own personality. Went into one house, and what I mean by that is it's the electrical, like in bathrooms and in basements, being able to regulate the electrical charge that's coming through the circuit.
Mm-hmm.
So that right now, the latest code is saying, well, in basements and in kitchens, you need that protection on your electrical receptacle. So some people don't know that. And so being able to say, okay, hey, we may need to switch these circuits out, and they're like, oh, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the latest code is that has to be done with refrigerators. And right now, a lot of homes aren't built like that. So being able to stay up on the current codes and the current building requirements is very, very important. Just inspected a new construction house. And people say all the time, this is another one. People say all the time, I don't need a home inspection. It's new construction. There's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, there were still some building practices and building codes that were not followed. Here is an example. The gas meter was right next to the driveway, and it wasn't protected.
Oh, wow.
New construction. So yeah.
How do you fix that issue? Or how would
they would have to at least
cover it
or protect it, right? And then they bonded it by like a wooden. They stapled it onto this wood. Like I get it, but yeah, if a car comes and hits that, that's not a good thing. Another house, I smelled gas, and I'm just like, okay, this has to be. So it's an ongoing thing.
Right. So,
everyone benefits. Even to your point, the seller benefits too from that report. Like, did you know that your house is leaning?
Right. Well, more so for the buyer because they're going into something.
Most definitely.
And the seller is kind of like not getting out of something, but they're leaving something behind. And if you're going into something, you want to know exactly what's to be expected,
Definitely.
like as if there's going to be repairs that need to be done and so forth,
Right.
So I really, again, I appreciated you stopping by and giving us some very helpful information. And I hope everyone was able to take something from that. So how do people get in touch with you for more information, like Instagram, Facebook, all of that, website?
Yeah, definitely. I would like to give my website, www.thoroughhome.com. THOROHOME.com. And on the site, you can schedule online and you can get free quotes online, order all of your services, and all of our social media is also linked off of our website.